Well, good evening, everyone, and thanks for joining the Brockville and District Horticultural Society's first speaker event of 2021. Virtual meetings may be our new normal for the next while, so we ask for your patience as we try to learn how to best conduct our meetings online. There are a few non-members registered tonight through our Facebook group page. So for our guests, welcome. And if you like what you see, do consider joining us. Before asking Gwen, the chair of the Speaker Programming Committee, to introduce our guest speakers, I'd like to ask everyone to turn off your microphone when our speakers are presenting. This will help reduce any background noise. So there are two icons on the bottom of the Zoom screen on the left-hand side. So if you would click the mute button when our speakers are on deck, and then you can click it back on if you have a question that you would like to ask during the Q&A. So Gwen, over to you.
She's muted right now. So Gwen, can you turn your microphone on, please?
Okay.
There you are.
All right. Good evening. Good evening, everyone. My name is Gwen Guerin, and I am pleased to welcome Andre Audet and his son Phil as speakers for this evening. Andre and his son and his family run a business called the BUSL Cidery, which is in Mallory Town. Andre is a founder of BUSL Cidery and has many entrepreneurial experiences. He is currently enjoying a career change from the banking business. And we're going to learn tonight about how their family business is busy growing fruit trees, berries, lavender, hascap berries, which are very interesting. And his newest venture is going to be truffles. Welcome, gentlemen. I'll turn it over to you. Thanks.
Okay, well, thank you. Thanks for inviting us. We're excited to talk about our what we do at Thousand Island Farms. When we started this venture, you know, I bought this property originally to create it into a kind of my own little private hunting camp. I'm originally from Ottawa, moved here about 2 years ago. And I was looking at something unique to do with the land. Out of the 300 acres, we had about 100 acres of tillable land that was being rented to local farmers to grow soya beans or oats or wheat or things like that. But I was looking to do something something unique, and that's kind of when I went on a mission to look at different things. My son was a big influence. He talked about the cider, getting into cider, that might be the next big drink category. So that was about what, 5-6 years ago, or even 10 years ago.
Yeah,
he talked about it, and I went on a mission and visited about probably 50 different cideries across Canada and the U.S. and decided that sounds like a really cool and fun business to be in. And we started about 5 years ago. Decided to be able to sell cider, alcoholic cider, you have to plant 5 acres. So this is when I became a farmer.
Right.
Phil, introduce yourself.
So hello, everyone. My name is Phil. I'm Andre's son, and I work at BUSL Cider, and I work on the farm as well. So today we're going to talk about the farm, the different crops we grow, as well as the sister companies related to Thousand Island Farms, which are BUSL Cider, and a more recent one, which is Our Brew Premium Beer. So I will, let's dive in. Okay, so Bushel Cider, of course, is a family-owned and operated business. We're proud to say that. You have myself on the tractor. That's me. I am the cider maker at Bushel Cider, the general manager. I organize events. I'm basically a jack of all trades with the company. And yeah, you've got my brother to the right with the black jacket. He's more responsible for groundskeeping. He takes care of all the apple trees, make sure they're growing well. And it's just more boots on the ground with regards to the apple trees and the different other crops that we grow on the farm. Then you've got Sonia. She is the one who designed the sort of the decor in the cider house. You'll see by the picture that we've got sort of like a rustic look going on. So she combined like a rustic look with sort of modern aspects. So that's kind of the look we have. And then you've got my dad, who again is also a bit of a jack of all trades. Of course, the owner of Bushel Cider and Thousand Island Farms. So a bit about our story. So we started in May 2019. Like my dad said, it was an idea that we initially joked about probably about 10 years ago. And just over time, just started working on it more and more. And it sort of turned into something real. But it did start off as kind of not a joke, but just like, hey, let's make cider. But yeah, so this is basically the grand opening. That's us cutting the ribbon the day we opened, which was, I believe, in May or June last year. Sorry, 2019 rather. So here is a slide that just shows some of the beginning. So Bushel Cider obviously started off really small. We started off home brewing. The story goes, my brother found an apple tree on the farm. It was a wild apple tree. And you'll see the apple in the middle picture. That's just me with the different buckets and bags of apples. And so, yeah, we decided to sort of try a family project to make cider. So we pressed the juice and started fermenting in these small jugs that you see here. So we started off making batches of 4 to 15 liters, which is extremely small compared to what we do now. We're currently doing batches of up to 4,000 liters at a time. So definitely started off really small. Yeah, so the pictures at the left here, those are pictures from when I was living in Ireland. So I did my studies in Ireland for a year, but that didn't stop me to sort of continue fermenting cider and learning about the cider business. Cider is quite big in Ireland. They're known for their cider. So I sort of continued my research and experimentation with cider making and learned a lot from it. So just to show you what Bushel Cidery looked like before it was Bushel Cider, here it is. So you see the old, I would say ruins, I guess, where the old barn used to be. It's a barn that's from the 1800s. Basically, this is the old ruins, the foundation of what Bushel Cider was. But this is what it currently looks like. So it's come a long way, of course. We built it on the same footprint. And again, trying to be modern, but still rustic at the same time. It's kind of the vibe we're going for. So it's definitely come a long way for sure. And here's a picture of the inside. So this is our tasting room / cider bar. So this is where you can come enjoy cider if you guys are ever interested in coming to visit us in Mallorytown. So again, it's just a rustic look mixed with modern feel. We even repurposed some of the barn boards as well as the tin you'll see below the bar over here. That's from the original building. So again, we tried to repurpose as much material as possible and give it that rustic feel, which is what we're going for. Okay, so this is the apple orchard at Bushel Cider. You'll see, I guess, a bit of a rock formation down here. So that's the view you get when you come visit us. And yeah, we've got about 5 acres of apple trees planted. And my dad will sort of dive into more details about the orchard.
Yeah. So anyways, I'm an amateur farmer when I started about 5 years ago, coming from the city of Ottawa, where I was a VP of BMO Nesbitt Burns in the finance industry, but I retired from that. And it was quite a steep learning curve to get into trees and the whole farming aspect. When I, my family planted, we have over 3,000 trees, apple and pear. All we did the first 2 years is we planted the trees and watered them. And what we quickly realized is, the trees were all dying. So we said, well, I think so. I hired a consultant, and we learned that for trees to thrive, like apple trees, you need fertilizer, you need to have pest control, and as you probably know, everything attacks an apple tree. So I invested in a sprayer, and the orchard now is thriving. After this is going to be our 5th year, but I learned through multiple losses. I almost lost most of the orchard one year and had to replant the trees, and now we've had to learn the hard way. But to be able to sell alcoholic cider at our farm, we needed to plant 5 acres, and we did that. So we grow 12 different types of apples. Why we grow that is just to get the blend that we want. You need to have a mixture of tardiness, sweetness, and this mix of apples gives us the flavor profile that we want. We also have pear trees that we planted, Bartlett and Flemish Beauty. The orchard hasn't produced much. We're right now, all the raw juice we buy from a place near Guelph called Martin's. We buy the freshly pressed juice, and then we do all the fermentation and filtering, bottling here on site. We hope that next year we'll be able to start using our apples and doing some special types of cider. We'd like to do an ice cider next year. It's not something you see much around here.
Sure.
And yeah, so we cover that about the history. The soil is pretty good. I mean, it needs a lot of fertilizer because we're just growing soya beans or corn. So we have to fertilize quite a bit in the spring and enrich the soil. But the soil has the right acidity, if you want, which is the soil is around between 5 and 6 that we have here and at our farm. But obviously apple trees like well-drained soil. Where we had water accumulate, the trees did not do well. They died.
Right.
So.
Okay.
And obviously, you have to prune. I mean, when I planted the trees, they were only a year old. So they were just like, they call them whips. So, and the day I planted, the year I planted it was one of the biggest droughts we ever had in Ontario. So as you know, the weather has been pretty extreme in this area. We've had last 5 years, we've had extremely dry weather, and we've had a few years of extremely wet weather. So being a new amateur farmer people were kind of laughing at me, the city boy trying to become a farmer, but we persevered, and now our everything is thriving. But again, as you know, you have to water regularly. Pruning is important. If you don't fertilize, the trees will not do as well. And pest control is huge. We try to use the more organic type of techniques, but as you know, it's if you wanted organic apples, you'll probably be paying $5 an apple. But pest control is very important. If you don't do that, your trees won't make it. And with Japanese beetles, we use traps, but even there, it's a constant struggle against Mother Nature. But you have to be on it. If not, the trees will not survive. Let's talk about how we make cider.
All right, so I guess I'll step in now and just speak a little bit about how we make our cider start to finish. I'm just gonna move this here. Sorry, everybody. Okay, so a bit about our process. So of course, to make cider, we need apples. So we get the apples and then we need to grind them up so that they can be sort of in a puree. So we grind them up and then we basically press the grindings, and then the juice, the sweet juice comes out. So that's the process before fermentation. But as my dad said, right now we are buying the juice currently. So we're not doing this process of sort of crushing the apples and pressing it just yet. But we do have a press on site to do it. And I guess I could say we can't wait to be making our own estate grown ciders, but we're not quite at that point yet. So right now we buy the juice, which is sweet cider, and we pump it into a primary fermenter. So we've currently got 4,500 liter tanks. So we make about 4,000 to 5,000 liters at a time. So to ferment the cider, the way it works is you have to throw in yeast. Yeast is what converts the sugars into alcohol. And that process takes about 1 to 2 months. So after 1 to 2 months have passed by, the cider is fully fermented, meaning all the sugars have been converted to alcohol, or almost all of them. And it's very low in sugar. It's essentially a dry cider. And then we let the cider mature. So this process can take up to 6 months, even longer if you'd like. It's kind of like a wine where it gets better with time, depending on the kind of cider you're trying to make. But the longer you wait, the more complexity you get in your cider, depending on what you're going for. So that's up to 6 months for the maturation. And then once it's matured, you're ready to sparkle your cider, which means you're ready to add carbon dioxide. And there's 2 ways to sparkle a cider. The first way is by injecting CO2 gas in an artificial manner, by buying carbon dioxide and running it through what's called a sparging stone. And then there's another way to do it naturally, which I'll talk about in the next slide. And that's the process we use at BUSL. And it just gives a better overall flavor. It's more natural, and it's just got better flavors overall. So once the process of sparkling the cider is complete, we then filter the cider down to 0.45 micron, which is a very, very small particle. The reason why we want to filter it is to remove any bacteria and remove any wild yeast that might be in the cider that could give off flavors. And if you back sweeten the cider, meaning you want to add a bit more sugar to it, and there's any residual yeast in the cider, what will happen is it will start to re-ferment. And what that means is it starts to produce carbon dioxide naturally from a fermentation, because that's a byproduct of fermentation, and bottles can literally explode. It's happened to us at BUSL where we did not filter properly by accident, and we've had bottles literally explode on us. So we've learned from that. It's not happening anymore, so don't worry. But we definitely, there was a learning curve when we started. So once you filter the cider and you've removed all the yeast, you essentially bottle the cider. So there's different ways to do that. We use a wine bottling machine. And yeah, once it's bottled, it's ready for sale. So a bit more about the process that we use at BUSL, which is quite unique. It's called the Charmat method. So the way we carbonate our cider is once the cider is mature, we add a bit of sugar back into the tank and a little bit of yeast. And what that does is it recreates a mini fermentation. And we do that in a pressurized vessel, like you see to the right here. And it just allows the cider to carbonate naturally instead of injecting CO2 in an artificial manner. So if you were injecting CO2 in an artificial way into a cider, that would take 24 hours to 48 hours to get it fully carbonated. But with the Charmat method, it could take up to a month or even 2 months. So what that allows us to do is create a higher quality cider that's got a lot more flavor. So that's how we do it over here. And it's quite a unique process. So we've got 5 different ciders at BUSL right now. We've got our Haskap cider, which is quite unique, and my dad will talk more about that in just a moment. We've got Cerasis, which is our cherry cider. We've got Aurum, which is our premium apple cider. And then we've got Baka, which is our blueberry and beet. So it's quite interesting as well. You've got a fruit and a vegetable in a bottle. So that one's quite unique. And then we've got our pear cider called Purim.
Yeah, and also, we do a lot of specialty cider. Like we have a pumpkin cider that we came out in the fall. We also have, we did for Valentine's Day last year, we did a chocolate cherry cider.
Yeah.
The nice thing with cider is, we like to kind of like to experiment.
Yeah, we definitely pride ourselves on being innovative, and we find that whenever you, I guess, make ciders that are interesting, we find that a lot of people come back to us because they always want to try the new cider. Instead of making the same old thing, we're always coming out with new stuff, and that allows our fans to be sort of excited about us and continue to come see us.
Yeah. So a little bit about a Haskap. That was our first cider that we made, and it is by far our best seller. I believe we're probably one of the only ones in Canada, if not the America and North America, that makes this type of cider. Why Haskap? I mean, I got onto Haskap about 5 years ago when I read an article about this becoming potentially the next big superfruit, and one of the main reasons is it's the berry that has the most antioxidants, higher than cranberry, higher than blackcurrant, blueberry, raspberry, strawberry. And I thought, well, that's interesting because we all need antioxidants to hopefully combat our disease or whatever. And in Japan, it is considered the fruit. Go back.
Oh, yeah, here we go.
In Japan, it's considered the fruit of longevity. So I'm 59 years old, and I'd like to be like my son's age, or so it is. It's quite an interesting fruit or berry, if you want, and it does really well. It's easy to maintain and has really unique flavors. You can make jam, pies, ice cream, smoothies. It's a great berry to play around with if you want. So we experimented with the cider, and it's created a cider that's quite tasty and has really complex flavors, and it is by far outselling all of our other ciders. So we're quite proud of it.
Sure.
Okay, we've covered that, and here's a picture of Haskaps. I mean, you're gonna hear more and more. I mean, it looks like a blueberry. Tastes a little bit like between a cross between a blueberry and a cranberry, and I think it's going to become more and more popular as people learn about this. It's fairly easy to grow. Yeah, so there's different types. This is just a chart. I bought all my trees from Saskatchewan, from the
University of Saskatchewan.
University of Saskatchewan, and they're always coming out with new types of Haskap. So the nice thing with this berry, it's the first berry to flower and to make a fruit. It comes before the strawberries and the raspberries. And it gives you an idea of what it looks like. These are pretty mature trees. These are probably about 5 years old, and it's like a bush, about 3 or 4 feet in diameter and 3 or 4 feet high. They like the full sun. They like acidic soil, like blueberries. Again, a well-drained soil, but they're very tough, very, very tough tree. For example, I've never watered my Haskap, and they've done very well. They kind of go dormant. If they don't get any water, they go dormant. Even this summer, I had one row that was all brown, and as soon as we had a rain, it all
came back to life.
They all came back to life. Obviously, if you can water them, great, but they're really a tough tree.
Do you want to talk about the cold hardiness as well?
Well, the tree, I mean, the good thing is they survive -40, which is good, compared to lavender, which won't even survive -10. And when they flower, the flower even survives -10. So it's I think it's an amazing tree, and we have 5,000 of these, and I hope that next year we'll really get a bigger crop and use all of it. The big thing is you have to put a net. Once they start to create a fruit, you have to put out a net. If not, the birds will empty it out. So we started putting nets the last few years, and we were able to get a decent crop. And the way we make the Haskap cider, we make it in 2 ways. One is we just throw the raw berries in the fermenter, So the flavor of our first few batch of cider came from the skin. It was the skin that provided the color and the flavor of our cider. And we made a new batch recently. What we did is we tried it by pressing the juice and extracting the juice. So the results were quite similar. The tastes were very good. But like any type of trees, again, you have to, the weeding is important, fertilizing, watering certainly will help. And again, well, I consider the Haskap really probably our lowest maintenance crop that we have on our farm. All I really do is do some weeding, and this year I fertilized for the first time in 5 years, and it does help it does help the growth. It just gives you the harvest cycle. It, like I say, it blooms in May and you start to get berries late June to late July. And so it's nice to plant different varieties just to get the different types of, so just so you can get berries over a month or two. And we have all of these types of berries on our farm. Let's talk a little bit about lavender. We have about 1,000 lavender plant, and lavender, as you know, comes from the south, from England or the south of France or Spain. So it likes warmer weather. But the Hitcot and Munstead, they're the one that do okay here. These are the most hardy type of lavender, and we've had some challenges here just because of the extreme weather. Lavender does not like rain, does not like wet feet, and it prefers hot, sunny, dry weather. So again, it prefers hot sun, well-drained soil, raised bed, and it likes some more alkaline soil around the 7. It'll do well if it's less than that, but it'll do better if it's higher in alkalinity. Lavender maintenance. I mean, you prune. You can prune in the spring, usually about half. You prune it down to the wood, or half to a third of the plant. You're better to cover it for the winter because it. I've been growing lavender now for 5 years, and I lost about 50% of the lavender 2 years ago, and last year I lost about 30%. But I didn't cover it. But you should cover it or put some straw or hay around it, and it will do a lot better. But I love it's a good looking crop, smells nice, and why we grow lavender is just for the beauty, the smell. We don't use lavender in our ciders. It's just it's more, because we're in the agro-tourism business, people enjoy looking at the lavender, walking in the lavender, doing yoga in the lavender, taking wedding pictures in the lavender. What I like is just it's a very unique smell, and has, some very good properties for relaxation, anti-anxiety, and things like that. So this is actual picture of our lavender last summer. So it's not too bad. It's doing quite well. And like I say, blooms usually from late June to August, even into September. Now let's talk about truffles. This is kind of an interesting, a new thing in Canada, if you want. As you know, truffles are rare. They're worth a fortune. Some truffles goes for over $1,000 a pound. And the main reason for that is they are extremely rare. They're very hard to find, and they're sought out by all the great chefs around the world. So it's kind of experimental, but not really. But we planted close to 5,000 trees that are associated with truffle. I'll explain that in a few minutes. So we're going to grow two types of truffle: the Appalachian truffle, And the Burgundy truffle is what you'd find in France and Spain and Italy. The the Appalachian, you'll find that in Georgia and the Carolinas and the Appalachian belt in the U.S. And the Appalachian should do well here. I hired a consultant I was an expert in truffles, had studied in France, and we inoculated over 5,000 different types of trees, from oak trees, red oak, white oak, hazelnut trees. And so again, what is a truffle? Basically, a truffle is a mushroom. It's called the fruitification of a mushroom. And a truffle is really unique. It establishes a symbiosis with tree roots to develop. So a truffle has to have a relationship with a tree, with a root, and they help each other out. The truffle is able to help the tree get the nutrients from the soil, and the tree, again, helps the truffle grow by providing nutrients. So it's an interaction between the truffle and the tree that makes it quite unique. Again, the truffle, they like a really high alkaline soil, so I had to apply quite a bit of limestone on my farms because my pH was about 6, so we had to apply quite a bit to get it up over 7, and I'll probably have to do another application next year. So again, it prefers a sandy drain soil. It doesn't mind clay, but yeah, keep going. So again, a little bit the life cycle of a truffle. It basically, like I explained, I mean, it's the exchange of food between the tree and the truffle. When I planted the trees, I planted like miniature oak trees that were about 6 inches high, and miniature hazelnut trees, and miniature hickory trees. And the way it's done is the soil is inoculated with spores, and these spores become the fungus that becomes the truffle. But you got to be kind of crazy to get into this business because it takes minimum 5 to 7 years to get a crop. Like, not too many people would do that. It's not like you plant soya beans, you get a crop, or you plant corn, you get your money out right away. It's going to take minimum 5 years before you see anything. So, not too many farmers are crazy enough to maintain a tree, look after it, pest control, all this stuff to start getting a crop after 5 to 7 years. It's really after 10 years. But if you can get to that point, it's worth a fortune. It's, the truffles are worth a fortune. There was a 2-pound truffle that sold recently for $300,000. And some are worth more than others, but the Appalachian should be worth around, they figure, about $250 to $300 an ounce. So again, the truffle trees that we're using is the oak, white oak, red oak, English oak, and the hazelnuts. The beauty of the hazelnuts is, at least, I'll have some hazelnuts that I could sell to Nutella or anyone. So I'll get hazelnut, plus I'll get truffles eventually after 5 years. A little bit how it works right now where I am. I planted my truffle trees about 3 years ago. So it's this is a small oak tree. They were planted when they were basically six months old, and then the expansion is when the mushroom grows over time, interacting with the roots. And after 5 years, you can start to get truffles, but it's really after 7 to 10 years that you get the real benefits. Yeah. So again, you need a dog to get to, you need to train a dog to get truffles, or in the old days, they used pigs. Because the truffles are underground, the human nose cannot smell them, but you need to train the dog, and basically any type of dog could be good for truffle. In Europe, these dogs are worth a fortune. A truffle dog is worth a lot of money, because where you're seeing where the dog is, there's probably $5,000 worth of truffles sitting right there. And again, a lot of people say it's worth more than a gold mine, but it is right now something new that we hope that, you know, in 2 to 3 years, we'll be able to start selling our truffles to some of the restaurants in Eastern Ontario or all over. But it is a tough thing, a tough thing to do. They used to be, they used to grow over 1,000 tons of truffles 100 years ago. Now they're only growing about 30 tons. So it's very sensitive to climate change. And again, it's just, its value goes up just because it's very hard to find.
Okay, I guess it's my turn to jump in now, unless you wanted to add anything else.
No, go ahead.
So yeah, I just wanted to talk about a new cider that we're creating right now that we'll be launching hopefully next week. So I made a joke to my dad actually during the last lockdown. I said, if we ever go back to lockdown and quarantine, I want to launch a cider that's called Quarantine, but Quarantine TEA, like tea. So we're making a cider called Quarantine. It's our latest creation. It's a tea infused cider. So we're really excited about it. This one's going to be infused with hibiscus tea and raspberry. So like I said, we're launching it next week. And it's probably the most progressive cider we've ever made. So just to give you, I'll read the description out to you. So the way our description works is we're saying, let's face it, quarantine sucks, but it inspired us to produce our first tea-infused cider, Quarantine. This stay-at-home edition brings a blend of hibiscus and raspberry and tea that creates a fruity, crisp, yet mild tartness on the palate, making isolation a little less, stay safe, cheers. So yeah, we're just trying to be funny and do something interesting. Obviously the pandemic is not funny, but trying to make isolation a little bit less, hard, if you will. So this is our latest creation.
Yeah, and just to add to that, the other thing I forgot to mention, the other thing we experimented this year is we also have our license to grow hemp. So we experimented growing high CBD hemp this summer and was quite successful in growing it. So we only grew 300 plants?
300 plants, yeah.
Yeah, just to see how we would do and just to see what type of CBD content we would get. So next year we're going to go, at least start commercial production of hemp. Hemp is quite an amazing plant. We could do a full hour presentation on hemp, whether it's hemp protein, hemp oil,
hemp fibers,
you name it. It's got, it's a plant that has all kinds of potential. You can make construction material, you can make plastics, you can make clothing. But the reason we grow hemp is just to see if we could get the percentage of CBD without having to apply for a cannabis license. And there is a bunch of new strains coming out with that I think will really put the hemp farmers on the map. So we had some fun with that.
Sure. Okay, so future at our farm. So we're currently building a brewery, which I'm really excited about. This brewery will be Canada's first solar-powered off-grid microbrewery in the country. So we're running off of solar power only. So we've sort of changed the process of making beer in order to make it efficient enough to run off of solar. We've had a few engineers and brewers sort of say that it wasn't possible. But we're going for it. We've done our research. Personally, my background is renewable energy. I studied in Ireland and ran a solar business for a number of years. So I do have quite a bit of knowledge. So we're really excited to build this brewery. So the picture on the bottom just shows where we're at right now. We hope to open summer this year, probably by end of summer. And like I said, we're powered by nature. So that's kind of our slogan, powered by nature. We're using solar power, and we'll expand to using wind power in the future. We're also going to be doing sort of an interesting concept, farm to bottle. So we're going to be growing our own hops on the property. So if you come see us, you can walk through the hop field and look at our hops. And we're just trying to be a sustainable business and trying to differentiate in the market. There's a lot of breweries that are out there that are great, but they're kind of doing the same thing. There's nothing unique really in the brewery. So we thought, we're on a farm, let's do something unique. And I have the background in renewable energy. So this has been a dream of mine for about 10 years now, to do the impossible and make beer using renewable energy. So really excited about that. Another thing that's pretty unique about the business is we're committed to sustainability by planting 1 tree for every liter of beer that we sell. So we've partnered with a non-for-profit, and we give part of our revenue to this non-for-profit, and they plant trees for us in areas around the world that require it, areas that are deforested, in India, Madagascar, Haiti, for example. So we're just trying to do something unique, and we're really excited about the project. So the brewery is under construction at the moment, but we are making our beer right now at another brewery while we wait for the beer to be ready to be sold on site. So you can buy our beer right now at BUSL Cider. Online, we deliver. And we also sell it at the Rapid Valley restaurant for now. But this is our latest project, and definitely more to come in the future. But this is something exciting that I'm really pumped about. And that's it, guys. Do you guys have any questions for us?
Okay, everyone, you can unmute if you'd like, and maybe Phil and Andre, you can just go back, take your presentation offline. We can see your faces while you answer some questions.
Okay.
I'll start. So when you crush the apples, are they cored, or are you putting the pips and all in? And do we worry about cyanide poisoning?
So currently at the moment, we are not producing like apples in an amount that's enough to be sort of using our own apples. So we're not currently doing that. We're simply fermenting the juice that we get from other orchards. So like my dad said, we're currently buying the sweet cider from Guelph, but more recently we've been buying locally. We want to be as local as possible. So we buy it from Hall's Apples in Brockville. So
okay. I guess my question still applies. Do they core it, or is it just a whole apple that's been crushed?
So we grind it up first and then we press it. So we don't, like, the seeds are in there, everything's in there. We just clean the skin and grind it up and then press it. You can't press a full apple. It has to be grounded up. Does that answer your question? I feel like I may have not answered your question there.
No, you did. I just was curious if all the little parts went in there.
Yeah, it's the whole apple.
If anyone has a question, just unmute yourself and speak up.
I have a question. How will you harvest the Hascap berries?
How do you harvest the Hascap
Oh,
berries?
yeah, it's a good question because you can do it by hand. It'll take forever. I went to visit a big Hascap farm south of Montreal 3 years ago, and they use a machine. What they use is they've produced kind of a wheelbarrow that goes. It's like a fork that goes in the on each side of the tree, and you use a kind of a drill, and you shake the tree, and the berries fall into a basket. So it's like when I saw that at that orchard at that place, I thought it was pretty cool. It's a fairly simple thing. It's baskets that go on each side of the bush, and you take kind of a drill with a fork, and what it does, it shakes the tree and makes the berries fall into baskets. And you do that, and it's a lot faster to do that than to do it by hand.
Thank you.
If you're interested in that, I can send you. They got a YouTube video on this little contraption that the local farmers invented, and it works quite well. You can harvest quite a few acres in a few days.
And it was invented in Canada, I believe. Right?
Well, it was invented, yeah. That's a local farmer near Granby that did that. So that's how we do it right now.
I have a few questions.
Yes.
Is there a due date on cider when you sell it?
That's a good question. Phil, you want to take that?
Sorry, a due date, an expiry date? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, how long does cider last?
Yeah, that's a great question for sure. So there's different ways to make cider last longer, of course, and have an impact on that expiry date. The first way that you can extend your expiry date is pasteurization. The way that milk is pasteurized, it runs through like heat that kills off any bacteria, and it allows it to last longer. That's very expensive, and it's not necessarily a craft or artisanal way to make cider. It's more of a commercial way to make cider. We don't really do that, but what we do is we do have to add some sulfites into the cider to allow it to last longer. And what that does is it allows it to oxidize a lot slower, and basically stop any re-fermentation from happening. Like I said, we've had some issues in the past where we tried not to add as many sulfites to keep it as natural as possible. But then we had problems with the sugars re-fermenting, and the bottles were overcarbonated. And then if they weren't exploding, when you opened it, it was a geyser. So we do have to use sulfites. I mean, it just allows the longevity to last a lot longer. Another way that you can make it last longer is ferment to a higher alcohol, because the more alcohol you have in your cider, the longer it will last. Our ciders are about 5%. So we do like to add those sulfites in to allow it to last longer. So how long does it last? That depends. I mean, if you keep it cold, it can last up to, I want to say 8 months is what I'm comfortable saying. If you keep it cold. If you don't keep it cold, maybe 4 or 5 months. So, yeah.
And do you sell your lavender?
No, not right. No, not right now, but I could easily sell hundreds and hundreds of bouquets. No, I don't, and I should, because I give it away. Last year, I was giving it away. So, but next year we're going to be opening up a bakery on site, and we will be selling lavender bouquets. Because of COVID this year, we really restricted our activities to just cider, just doing some cider. Yeah. Even that was a challenge, because we were well known for having events. Like, we had a lot of events. We'd bring in live music, and we'd get really great turnouts. And because of COVID, that really, we were we couldn't do any events. So so again, next summer, we intend to go a lot bigger.
Yeah, because I was just going to say, the other thing too is that we're not in the LCBO, right? So we make money by people coming to by seeing us, coming to visit us, right? So COVID obviously had a pretty big impact. Having events is a great way to draw people in, and we weren't able to do that. So it's been a weird year.
Because a lot of people want to have weddings. We're a great place to have a wedding venue, just because of the beauty of the orchard and the rock lookouts, the lavender. It's a nice place to have weddings, retirement parties. We've had a few bachelorette parties. Yeah. It's a nice place to have events, birthday parties, different events.
Yeah, corporate events. We had a few corporate events, stuff like that. So.
And we also will be serving food next year.
So you're not open during lockdown at all, then?
Not right now.
Well, so open. So if you want
for delivery, yes.
Yeah. So
online. We
have an online store, and that online store is drink1000islands.ca. So if any of you are interested in trying our cider, we do deliver within the area, or you can do obviously a curbside pickup at BUSL Cider. So what we do is we prepare it into a box, and we put it in our truck that we have in front of the cidery, and you can just come grab it. So we do offer that. So we're not open per se, but we still kind of are open if you want.
As soon as the lockdown ends, we will be open for sure.
Yeah.
We get a lot of people calling us, and unfortunately we can't. But again, you can order products online. Our product is also available at the Rapid Valley restaurant, and like Phil said, curbside pickup also. So
yeah.
Okay, I have one last question.
Sure.
And it has to do with the security on in your orchard, if you're growing truffles and the value of the fungi, do you have security on your property or?
You know what? That is a big
No.
question. That is a good question because it is becoming an issue in Europe, where people are stealing truffle just because they're worth so much money. I still have 2-3 years to figure that out, but
Find them.
that's a valid question.
You asking for a friend, Danielle?
Maybe I'll get a mean dog, a couple of mean dogs.
Yeah.
But
Would
that is
someone
a good
coming on
question.
site be able to even find truffles without a dog sniffing them out?
Well,
Well, it's staked.
eh?
It's well, the tree you planted the trees, so it's staked, right? So they could find, yeah.
Well, they'll find, the thing is, they'll find the trees, but like you say, they'll need a dog to be able to, I'm more worried about harvesting the truffles and then finding a secure, I almost need a vault to put them because they are worth so much money.
Once you've harvested.
But again, I mean, to steal truffles that are 12 inches under the ground, it's pretty hard. They would have to come and see us when we're harvesting it, and then
once it's out of the ground, I think
once
that's
it's out of the ground,
more,
there's certainly a risk,
Yeah.
definitely. And I was reading actually today that it is becoming an issue in Europe right now, just because they've got the value of them is so precious. That's a good
Excuse me.
question, though.
Do you have to deal with any pests that with the Haskell berries?
Not really, no. I mean, I haven't had any issues at all with pests. No.
well, the birds.
Birds
The
and
only
squirrels.
pest, the only issue are the birds, but no, it hasn't been. It's very pest resistant compared to the apple tree, which every
Okay,
insect in the world loves an apple tree, and spores and mold and everything. But no, ASCAP, no, the pests are not a big issue. Same thing like with hemp.
I was gonna say hemp. Yeah.
Hemp is really pest resistant. So
Well, hemp is actually
Okay,
considered
good.
almost invasive. Oh, sorry.
The
good. Well, I have a few Haskell berries that I planted, so I'm looking forward to some more berries this year, but they haven't been very productive. But I think it's because, like you say, you need sunlight.
sunlight, and it depends on the type you have, right? I mean, sometimes you have to combine it with another one to get, to pollinate. So depends. How long have you had them?
2 years,
Okay, well,
2 years.
yeah, 2 years. Yeah, they really start to produce after the third year, and then 5 years
Okay.
they'll be. But yeah, it's not abnormal not to get anything. Did you get a flower? Did they flower?
Yes, I
Little bit?
have some berries already.
Yeah. Okay. So
have
you,
s- I've
after
had
2 years,
berries.
you had some berries. So that's good. Next year, you should get a lot more. You should get a lot more
Good.
berries.
Yay!
But like you say, they like full sun, and make sure to keep the birds away.
And just so everyone knows, the Haskell berry is in the same family as the honeysuckle. So that's why they're called honeyberries too.
Yeah, in the U.S., they actually call them honeysuckles. In the U.S., yeah,
Yeah, well, they are in the same family.
yeah,
A question about the truffles.
yes.
Once they start producing, do they produce a crop every year or does it take another 5 years to recrop again?
Oh, that's a good question.
Don't know yet.
No, but I mean, listen, it's once it's irregular, right? It's not, once the dog finds that mushroom, if you want, it could take, yeah, it will take another 5 to 7 years to produce another truffle. But around a tree, you could have dozens and dozens of truffles, right? But they're not maturing all at the same time. So, but yeah, but they keep reproducing though every year.
Unless you take it all off.
Unless you take them all off the 1 year, but that doesn't happen because you
Can't find them all.
can't find them. They're very, very challenging to find. Yeah.
Okay.
So I would like to ask, how do you harvest the truffles without, like, you can't, pierce them with a shovel or something?
You need the dog. You need the dog. Basically, the dog smell. You can look at. There's many YouTube videos actually of showing how dogs find truffles. It's the dog, because the dog will get trained, right? You train him. That could take a while, but the dog just digs, and where you see the dog smelling and digging, you basically take your shovel, and that's how it's
Very gently.
It's there's no mechanical way. It's all hand.
Oh,
It all has to be harvested by hand, and you absolutely need dogs or pigs but now they
Can't be human.
no, because human can't smell like that. But they're harvested by hand, but you absolutely need dogs. Like I say, a truffle dog in Europe is worth $50,000 to $100,000 for a truffle dog. They're worth a fortune.
So you're gonna have to get dog insurance too.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. So no, actually, I'm getting.
Maybe keep the
I
dog
am getting a
involved.
dog. I am getting a dog in the fall. As you know, right now, because of quarantine, because of pandemic, it's very hard to get a dog. But I'm getting a dog that I will use that I will start training for truffles, because it'll take a while, a couple of years. And I hope to have a harvest not next year, but the year after.
So do you already have a market established, like some buyers established for your?
Yeah,
future
the guy
truffles?
the person that sold me the truffle trees wants to buy all my crop because he's for truffle, for doing all kinds of derivative products, and we haven't come to an agreement yet, but from what I understand, it's such a sought after mushroom that it will not be an issue. I think I could easily sell my truffles to some restaurants in the area.
So did you go into truffles because you love truffles, or as a money venture,
Well, because I'm a little bit crazy, first of all, because you plant something
that helps.
because a truffle, just a little tree, it's $15 a tree. So I planted 5,000 of them. So who does that and doesn't get a crop for 7 to 10 years? A crazy city boy like me. But anyways, I actually love the taste of truffles.
Okay.
I love it. Like at the BUSL cider, we make truffle fries.
Mm-hmm. Super good.
It's amazing. The taste is amazing. I like anything with whether it's pasta or anything. I love the uniqueness flavor of truffles, and I want to grow different things than your conventional corn and soybeans. But again, it's risky. It's a huge investment there's no guarantee, right? I mean, some people have tried to grow truffles in BC and it did not work. You need the right weather and the right soil, and it looks like
and some luck
and some and decent weather, and looks like this area here, could be a nice area to grow truffles. We did some tests, and we can actually start to see the mushrooms growing right now, but they're not very big. They're very, very small, but it is working. The mushroom is interacting with the roots, and it's just a slow process for the growth of the actual mushroom.
Wow.
Any other questions?
What is your address that we can go out to see the lavender in the summer?
Yeah, it's in Mallorytown. It's 75 Quabbin Road in Mallorytown. It's right. I got 2 fields, one adjacent to the house and one across from the BUSL cider behind our new bakery.
Thank you so much. When does the bakery open?
No, I didn't open it this year. I'll open it next, because of COVID, there was not enough tourists around, but
This summer, will it be open, the
oh
bakery?
yeah, definitely. Yeah, we sell high end, we sell more high end baked goods. So
Like,
we'll sell some really fancy cupcakes or fancy cookies or
Cakes and stuff.
really different cakes. And we'll do also, I'll bring in some specialty chocolates from local people. Like I brought some chocolates in from the guy at Sealy's Bay, they're Ridgeway. We sell soft ice cream, candies, it's, and we also have a boutique on top of the bakery where we sell, not last year, the year before, we sold lavender products. Things, whether it's shampoo, soap, things like that.
sounds great.
And that's across from the cidery?
Yeah. So you can go, you can have different experiences. So next year we'll have the brewery, because the brewery's right beside the cidery, well, 500 meters away.
No, not even.
So you have the brewery experience, you'll have the cider experience, and you'll have the bakery and the lavender. So it could be, you can spend it easily an afternoon, only an afternoon with us. The only thing, we need a place for people to sleep if they overconsume. So
Yeah, that's a future project.
Did you say chocolates from Ridgeway?
yes.
That's nice of you to bring them closer to me. I've had them. They're delicious.
Yeah, they are. Yeah. And he also has some unique flavors. I like his bacon. He's got a chocolate made with bacon. I like that. I like creative people, because for us, we make ciders that no one else makes, right? We're going to make in the spring a maple cider.
Yeah.
And who does we made a cider with beets. Who makes, we combine blueberry and beets to make a cider, but it's, we're having fun here, and it's being well received.
Yeah.
And it keeps us relevant, keeps us, coming out with new product. We're not just a one product company. We keep innovating. We want to do that in everything we do. We don't want to be a Me Too type of company. So
exactly.
So we're sacrificing short-term income for income down the road for my son's retirement.
Sure.
Yeah.
No, it's all about having fun, and myself, I'm a creative person, and it's all about doing things to break the mold, and like the solar brewery is just testing the limits of what you can do with running off of solar power. Like most people said it wasn't possible, but my goal is to prove that yes, you can brew beer with solar power, and that's, I'll do whatever I can until I achieve it. And it's just being unconventional and different, and hopefully people follow us and sort of enjoy that.
Any other questions?
Gwen? You're on.
I have a question about the truffles, another question.
Yes.
When you harvest the truffles, what is their shelf life? Are they very
That's a good, that's a good
quick to
question.
spoil, or do they last?
Yeah, no, that's
You
a
don't
good
know.
question. The short answer is I don't know. I'm not there yet, but I'll have to ask my
Okay.
consultant. But I mean, I'm sure it probably needs to be refrigerated to last longer. I would think, but that's a
Okay.
good question. I'll have to ask.
I
him.
just wondered if you would have to market them fairly close to, to transport them to market. Would it
So,
be?
I think you can bring him in from. I think. Go ahead. Phil.
So I'm sorry, I just Googled it actually. And I'm a little bit surprised for what I see here. It says here, according to whoever, white truffles will last around 5 days and will keep for over a week. Use them soon. They don't age like wine. Interesting. So
Okay.
they need to be sort of used.
Okay.
Oh, shit. Oh, sorry. Apologies. Thought we lost you there. So yeah, it looks like their shelf life isn't super long. So you do want to use them quite rapidly from what I'm reading here anyway.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
But that's a good question to ask because I'm going to have to know that in a few years.
So yeah, here it says truffle oil will last 6 months or up to a year. So there you go. If you make it into an oil, it lasts longer, I guess.
Yeah.
So yeah, there you go.
I
I
would
have a
think,
question.
oh,
Yes.
You said white truffles,
That's what I read here. Yeah.
but are yours considered white
Oh,
truffles?
no, they're not. No.
Oh,
White
okay.
truffles only come from Italy and they're worth $3,000 a pound.
Oh,
They're
wow.
the rarest truffle you can find.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Wow.
this is the appellation, and it's
Oh.
you saw it in the. It's about it has a brownish color to them. Yeah.
So yeah, it says here the black ones will last a little bit longer. So there you go. I'm not sure how much longer, but
Okay.
yeah.
And when are you going to start selling those? I mean, if we can get
Well,
them?
in 2 years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. No, I'm just right now. It's just make sure the tree stays alive, and in 2 years, I should start to get small truffles, like probably the size of my thumb there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, and then in 7 to 10 years, well, then that's almost maximum production. But I'm excited about that because it's out there. It's really unique. And as far as I know, it's probably the biggest truffle farm in Canada. It's probably where we're, us right now. I know there's been a few attempts that have failed, but they weren't in this type of weather. They were in BC. I think BC was way too wet. They had major disease problems. The consultant that I use is now successfully harvesting truffles south of Montreal. So it is working. And the weather near Montreal is a lot harsher than here. So we have the perfect soil and we have the right conditions here for the Appalachian truffle to thrive. That was the analysis after we looked at the soil and different things like that. We just had to add limestone. We'll have to do another application because it does better with a high pH. So you need a lot of limestone. But yeah, it could be an exciting crop. It could certainly overtake bushel and everything else we do if it becomes successful. But again, it's a challenge because every year I lose trees, right? There's the mice. There's all kinds of issues, right? The mice. This year we had major issues with the Japanese beetles. It's nature. Mother Nature hopefully gives me a break so I can make it to year 5. But I mean, it's tough. It's tough to keep up with the trees, So, but last year we probably lost 10%, and it depends. And these are trees; they're not fruit trees. So you would think they'd be hardier, but it's a challenge.
Could you net your trees as well?
Net.
No, not really. What we've done with the trees, we put those blue tubes on it, and that promotes the tree to go straight, and it helps control the weeds.
So, wait, are you talking about the truffle trees or the apple trees?
No, the truffle trees.
Yeah, the truffle trees.
Okay, just make sure. Okay.
No, the trees themselves are quite pest resistant. Obviously, mice. A net would not help us. The birds, it's mostly the water. You got to keep them watered and keep the rodents out. But I thought we had enough coyotes out there to handle the mice, but still, it's still an issue. We lose trees all the time.
What all are these truffles used for?
What's that?
What are the truffles?
What all are these truffles used for?
Well, it's used a lot. It's used for food, right? It just gives it your unique flavors. For pastas. For a lot of people cook with truffle oil. You can use it. It's a major ingredient for high-end cooking, just because of the richness and uniqueness of its taste. And when you go to you'll see that some of the fancy restaurants, you want pasta with truffles, they'll rape the truffles over your pasta. When we do fries here, we use truffle oil. It's olive oil that's infused with truffle, but it is a major ingredient for a lot of the high-end cooking. A lot of the chefs. Anytime you order a dish with truffle, it's very expentive.
I love chocolate truffles.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, those are good.
Yeah, that's not the same. That's not. Yeah, that's. They call it a chocolate truffle because it kind of looks like a mushroom in a way. But yeah, the chocolate truffle is not fungus.
Well, if there are no further questions, I will ask Gwen to thank our speakers.
I would
Hello,
just
any more questions?
I would just like to do a shout out for BUSL Cidery. I enjoyed it immensely about 3 years ago. It was the pear, cherry, and I think it was the beet blueberry.
Yes. Okay. Cool.
It's yes, it's sure worth a drive out. It's just barely through the village of Mallory Town, over the tracks and around the curve.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. So thanks, fellas.
Thank you. Next summer, you'll be able to enjoy the bakery and the beer.
The brewery, yeah.
For sure.
On behalf of the
Sorry.
On behalf of the Brockville and District Horticultural Society, I'd like to thank you both, Phil and Andre, for a very interesting and informative talk. We can't wait to get out to your BUSL cider and try that new quarantine tea cider, which sounds very good. And thanks so much. We really enjoyed it.
Well, thanks for having us. This was a lot of fun.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, hope to see you at our place soon.
Thank you.
Take care, guys. Stay safe.
Thank you
very much.
Yeah,
Good evening.
Everyone, please don't leave. Danielle has a few announcements to make. Phil and Andre, you can leave. If you want, you can stay too.
Have a good night, guys. Thanks again for the opportunity. Yeah.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Good night.
So just a few small announcements before wrapping up. As everyone knows, it's renewal time for membership. We have been thinking of a way to distribute the yearbooks and the membership cards. And one idea that came up was to have a drive-through pickup at the Wesleyan Church where we meet. This will happen on a Saturday in one of the next 3 Saturdays. We're just finalizing the plans now. It'll happen from 10 to noon, where people come in, you speak to a runner, you either renew your membership or you're there to pick up your book. You come through the church parking lot, turn around and leave. So everyone stays in their car. We're hoping that people will come and pick up their books. We think it's what we can do right now, best way to distribute the books at the moment. We have a great yearbook this year, and at the same time, the membership cards will also be available because, as everyone knows, we do get good discounts from some of the local garden centers. So our membership team is also going to be doing a we will have another communique with all the details, but the membership team was thinking of doing phone call reminders as well, so that if you miss it on email, you'll get an email reminder. The other reminder I wanted to pass out is if you have saved seeds for Seedy Saturday, which is in a different format this year. It's not at the Memorial Center. We will not have a booth, but members are encouraged to donate seeds directly to the library. package them up with as much information as you can on the seed of choice, and drop them off at the Brockville Library at the drop-off box under the carport on George Street. And the due date is before February the 12th. So if you have any seeds, please drop them off, and maybe you can indicate that you're with the Brockville Horticultural and District Society so that they know that it comes from one of our members. We still have a few spots to fill for maintenance at our 2 gardens, the pollinator garden and the Rotary Park garden. The links to the sign-up sheets were forwarded in one of our communiques. I think it was a January 18th communique. If you would prefer to speak to someone in person rather than filling out the link, Nancy Leger is the chair of the pollinator garden, and Pat Herbert takes care of the Rotary Club garden. So please, if you can help, we do need more volunteers. The last reminder is to give you the date of our next meeting, and it will again be a virtual meeting. It's a how-to on flower photography with one of the local photographers. So if you can and you're interested, please join us. We're hoping that everyone will benefit and will take better pictures for our next photo competition next year with tips from photographer Alex Loshak is his name. So I want to thank both Marianne and Gwen for making our virtual meeting a success. Thank you, ladies. And thanks to everyone for tuning in. And I hope to see everyone next month. That's it for announcements. Does anyone have any questions? No?
Actually, I do. The seeds, you said that you dropped them off at the library. Now, how will people be able to come and get them?
If you go to the library website, they will have an announcement on how they're doing things differently this year. They are doing it from the library, and it's by appointment only. So they will have a catalog or a list of some of the seeds that are available. And I believe you let them know ahead of time, and it's curbside pickup.
Okay. Do you have to be a member of the Brockville Library? No.
No, I don't believe so.
Okay. Okay. All right.
Danielle, how soon are the booklets available?
The membership booklets?
Yes.
Tricia, can you answer that question? Are the membership cards ready?
Yes, the membership cards are ready. I just have to, well, they're ready now.
They're ready. We just need to get organized.
Yes.
In a fashion where we can distribute them to members safely without having too much contact because of the lockdown.
Yeah.
So Danielle?
Yes?
To package up the seeds for the library, do we do it like Mary Ann taught us, just a few seeds in a piece of paper and fold it up like that?
The library has offered to package the seeds in small packets if you don't have the time or the inclination to do so. So I think they have some volunteers that will do that. So it's either or. If you wish to package them in small packets, go ahead. If not, make sure they're well labeled and identified with as much information as you can give, and they will have the library volunteers do that. Is that it? Okay, well, good night, everyone, and thanks very much for joining what will probably be the new norm for the next little while. We, just out of interest, we had 23 people on the call today, which is, I think, a good average considering that everyone is new to Zoom calls. We will certainly aim to increase that number to perhaps levels of in-person calls. So that's our challenge.
And Danielle, don't forget that's 23 computers. Some of those computers had 2 people in front of them. So we actually didn't do too badly.
Yeah, I'm happy.
I'd just like to thank Mary Ann and Danielle for all their hard work. They did a lot of behind the scenes work to get this night ready, and they did a great job. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Gwen, because you got the speaker and it was a good choice. It worked out very well.
Mary Ann, did we have anybody viewing via YouTube? Can you tell?
No, because I didn't publish the YouTube address. I wanted to make sure it works first. So after we log off, I'll go check it because I can't do 2 things at once, unfortunately. And if it's there and good, then we can send the link to the members who missed it and they can still see it.
Okay. Are you saving the YouTube?
Yeah, we set up our own YouTube channel using our BDHS communicate email address on Gmail.
Okay.
They'll all be there.
Okay.
They'll all
Excellent.
be there once we start accumulating some.
Yes. Okay. Okay. Excellent. Thank you.
Okay, good night, everyone. Bye.
Thanks,
Bye.
Danielle. Good night.
Thanks, everybody.